Who told you biology is very difficult? No, it is not. It is very, very simple. So let's make it simple. Biology is very simple. Okay. So just follow what I'm going to explain it to you. And remember to share the video and also subscribe. So I'm going to upload another video for prediction for the internal candidate 2023. So in this video, specifically we are going to answer section A, which is biology paper 2 2022 GCE. Section A only. So the question needs figure 1 shows different types of specialized cells. So before I answer the questions, let me try to define what cell specialization is. So cell specialization is the process by which a cell undergoes specific changes in order to carry out the specific function. So I'm saying cell specialization is the process by which a cell undergoes specific changes in order to carry out specific function. So we have cell A, cell B, and cell C. So cell A is called the motor neuron. Cell A is called the motor neuron. Or we can say the nerve cell, specifically the motor neuron. Then as for B, this one here is the root hair cell. B is the root hair cell. Then as for C, C is the ciliated cell. C is the ciliated cell. So question A is, which is the Roman numeral number 1, saying identify the cells A, B, and C. So the answer for A is going to be motor neuron. Open bracket, we can say nerve cell. Then as for B, I'm going to say B is the root hair cell. Then as for C, I'm going to say ciliated cell. Then as for Roman numeral number 2 is saying state the part of the living organism in which the specialized cells B and C are normally found. State the part of the living organism in which the specialized cells B and C are normally found. So as for B, we know that B is a root hair cell, and it is one of the examples of a specialized cell in plants. Of course, we know that a root hair cell is found in plant. Now they are asking you to locate the part where the root hair cell is found. So I'm going to say it is located at the tip of the root. It is located at the tip of the root. Then as for C, I'm going to say C is located in the lining of the oviduct. C is located in the lining of the oviduct, or we can say it is located in the lining of the respiratory tract. C is located in the lining of the respiratory tract. Then as for B, B is saying explain the function of each of the cells in figure 1. So as for cell A, this one is the motor neuron. So the function of the motor neuron is to conduct the electrical impulse from the central nervous system to the effectors. So as for A, conducts electrical impulses from the central nervous system to the effectors. So as for effector is any organ part which can respond to a stimulus. Is any organ part or any organ part of the body which can respond to stimulus. Then as for B, we know that B is a root hair cell. So the function of the root hair cell is to provide the surface area for the absorption of water, or let me say the absorption of water and mineral salts from the ground, or the absorption of water and mineral salts from the ground. Then the last one, which is C. The function of C is to sweep out mucus. The function of C, which is the ciliated cell, is to sweep out mucus containing dust particles or pathogens. Another function of C, Let's say, for example, you talk of the location where it is located in the oviduct. You can say the function of C, which is the stated cell, is to sweep, or let me say to move the fertilized egg toward the uterus for implantation. So I'm saying the function of the ciliated cell in the oviduct or in the lining of the oviduct is to move the fertilized egg toward the uterus for implantation. Okay, so that was the last one on this part, which is question 1. Let's move on to the next one, which is question 2. So question 2 reads, figure 2 represents a rhizopus growing on bread. So figure 2 represents a rhizopus growing on bread. So a rhizopus usually grows on dead decaying organic matter, or we can say grows on bread. Okay, so we have part G, part E, and part F. So as for part G is called the spore. Part G is called the spore. Okay, then part E is called the sporangiophyll. Part E is called the sporangiophyll. Okay, so the function of the sporangiophyll is to hold the sporangulum. The function of the sporangiophyll is to hold the sporangulum. Then we have F, which is the rhizoid. F is the rhizoid. The function of the rhizoid is to anchor and also to produce extracellular enzymes. I'm saying the function of the rhizoid is to anchor the rhizopus and also to produce extracellular enzymes. Okay, so the first question, which is question A, is saying identify the parts labeled E, F, and G. Identify the parts labeled G, let me say E, F, and G. So we have E, which is the sporangiophyll. E is the sporangiophyll. Then as for F, F is the rhizoid. F is the rhizoid. Okay, so the roots for the rhizopus is called the rhizoid. Then we have G, which is the spore. G is the spore. Okay, now a rhizopus is falling under saprophytic nutrition. Okay, where the mode, this is just a type or the mode of nutrition where a living organism feeds on dead organic matter. So the next one is question B. Roman numeral number 1 is saying, state the type of nutrition found in the organism in figure 2. So the correct answer here is going to be saprophytic nutrition. The correct answer here is going to be saprophytic nutrition. Then as for Roman numeral number 2 is saying, explain how the nutrition identified in B, Roman numeral number 1, is brought about. Explain how the nutrition identified in B, Roman numeral 1, is brought about. 3 marks. So I'm going to say, when the bread decays, the rhizopus, they are going to grow. Okay, so when the bread decays, we are going to find that the rhizopus, they are going to start growing from that bread. Now, what usually happens here is that the rhizopus is going to anchor itself on the bread. So I'm going to say the rhizopus anchors itself on bread using the word the rhizoid. Apart from that one, I'm going to say the rhizoid secretes the extracellular enzymes. The rhizoid secretes extracellular enzymes. Now, those extracellular enzymes are going to convert starch into glucose. Extracellular enzymes, which is going to be produced by the rhizoid, is going to convert starch into glucose. Then the lysoid is going to absorb the glucose as the byproduct. Okay, so let me repeat. The lysopus anchors itself on bread using the lysoid. Then the lysoid secretes the extracellular enzymes which digest or which convert starch into glucose. Then the lysoid is going to absorb glucose as the byproduct. Okay, so the last one, which is question C, is saying, describe the importance of the nutrition in the lysopus to the environment. So the first one I'm going to say, the importance of the lysopus to the environment is that it is going to recycle the nutrients. It is going to recycle the nutrients, specifically the nitrogen cycle. Okay, specifically the nitrogen cycle. Apart from that one, we are going to say the lysopus is going to prevent the accumulation of the dead organic matter or living organisms. So the lysopus is going to prevent the accumulation. Accumulation, in Bemba we say ukfula. So accumulation, this lysopus is going to prevent the accumulation of dead organic matter. So that was the last one on question 2. Let's move on to the next one, which is question 3. Question 3 is, figure 3 shows part of the respiratory organs of a bone fish. So we have structure Z. So structure Z is called the filament, or let me say gill filament. Structure Z is called the gill filament. Okay. So the first one, which is question A, Roman numeral number 1 is saying, identify structure labeled Z. Identify structures labeled Z. So structures labeled Z is going to be the gill filament. Now, the gill filament appears red because it contains blood capillaries. Okay, so Roman numeral number 2 is saying, explain how structures labeled Z are suitable for their function. Explain how structures labeled Z are suitable for their function. 1 mark. So I'm going to say the presence of blood capillary. The presence of blood capillary. The presence of blood capillary or capillaries. Then as for Roman numeral number 3 saying, name 3 other respiratory organs in fish other than the one shown in figure 3. Name 2 other respiratory organs in fish other than the one shown in figure 3. So the first one being is the mouth of the fish. Okay, so the mouth of the fish is the first one, followed by the operculum, followed by the operculum, followed by the operculum. Okay, then as for question B is saying, describe the role played by, the role played by each of the respiratory organs identified in a Roman numeral number 2. But it was supposed to be 3 here instead of 2. So describe the role played by each of the respiratory organs identified in a Roman numeral number 3, not 2. Okay, so the first one I was saying, it is the mouth. So now, during inspiration, that is the period during the fish inhales oxygen. So we are going to find that during inspiration, the mouth is going to open, then the operculum is going to close. or it is going to be closed. So during inspiration, the mouth opens, then the operculum closed. Then as for number 2, I'm going to say during exhale, the mouth closes while the operculum opens. Okay. Then as for question C, it's saying which respiratory organ in humans plays the same role as structure Z in a bone fish? Which respiratory organ in humans plays the same role as structure Z in a bone fish? So I'm going to say the hose of alveolus. The hose of alveolus, or we can say alveolus. The hose of alveolus or alveolus. So let's move on to the next one. This is question 4. Question 4 reads, Figure 4 shows the relationship between blood, tissue fluid, cells, and lymph. Figure 4 shows the relationship between blood, tissue fluid, cells, and lymph. Okay. So now, as you can see, the way the direction of blood flow, it is coming from R going to part labeled T. So now, the first question is saying, which is question A, identify structures U and T. U and T. So as for U is called lymphatic vessel. U is called lymphatic vessel. U is called lymphatic vessel. Then as for T is called venue. T is called venue. T is called venue. Okay. Then the next one is question B, saying Roman numeral 1, saying name one nutrient represented by S. Now, as you can see, S is diffusing through the what? T, the lymphatic vessel. S is diffusing through the lymphatic vessel. So as for S, I'm going to say glucose. S is going to be glucose, or we can say blood sugar. S is going to be glucose or blood sugar. Then as for Roman numeral number 2 is saying compare the blood pressure at R to that at T and give a reason for your answer. Compare the blood pressure at R to that at T and give a reason for your answer. So now, as for part R, this one here, it is called the atrial. Part R is called the atrial. Part R is called the atrial. Now, when the blood is coming from the heart, it comes with the high pressure. When the blood is coming from the heart, it comes with the high pressure. So now, here we are comparing. So I'm going to say R is going to have high blood pressure, or at R, blood is going to move with high speed, while at T, blood is going to move with low speed or low pressure. So I'm saying at part R, blood is going to move with high pressure compared to T. So as for T, blood is going to move with the low pressure. Then the reason I'm going to say, this is because the blood at R is coming from the heart. This is because the blood at R is coming from the heart. Then as for T, I'm going to say, this is because the blood is going back to the heart. Okay? This is because the blood is going back to the heart. Then as for question C reads, explain the law of structure U in relation to blood circulatory system. Explain the law of structure U in relation to blood circulatory system. As for U, I was saying U is the lymphatic vessel. So as for lymphatic vessel, it maintains blood fluid or balance of blood fluids. Apart from that one, it also maintains the immune system. It also maintains the immune system. It also maintains immune system. Apart from that one, I'm going to say part U, which is the lymphatic vessel. It maintains the absorption of nutrients and other exchange gases like carbon dioxide to be excreted. Okay, you know that carbon dioxide, it need to be excreted from the body or from the blood. So the law of U, which is the lymphatic vessel, is to make sure that it excrete or it provide the surface area for the diffusion of those gases so that they can be excreted. So I was saying the first one, we are going to find that this one here is going to balance the tissue fluids. Apart from that one, maintaining the what? The immune system. And then lastly, maintains the absorption of nutrients and elimination of gaseous exchange. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. So the next one leads, which is question 5. A hemophilic mother had 2 sons who were both hemophilic. The father was non-hemophilic, which means the father was normal. Then the mother was hemophilic. So this question is coming from genetics, specifically under sex-linked characteristic. So as for sex-linked characteristic, is the occurrence of a non-gene on the sex chromosome. The occurrence of a non-gene on the sex chromosome. Okay, so the first one, which is question A, is saying, define the term hemophilia. So the term hemophilia, this one here, it is an example of the blood disorder, or an example of a sex-linked characteristic. So I'm going to say hemophilia, it is a blood disorder. It is the blood disorder characterized by abnormal bleeding. Characterized by abnormal bleeding due to lack of clotting factors. Due to lack of clotting factors. That is factor 8 and 9. That is factor 8 and 9. So, if a person is having hemophilia, if he or she wounds, we are going to find that the blood is not going to stop coming out from the body until the person dies. So this kind of blood disorder is very deadly. Okay, it is very deadly because blood lacks clotting factors. That is factor 8 and 9. Then the next one is saying, which is B, using letters x to the power small letter h and x to the power capital letter H. So as for x to the power small letter h, this one here, it is a recessive allele. X to the power small letter h, this one here is the recessive allele. Then as for x to the power capital letter H, this one here, it is a dominant allele. Now as a dominant allele is more powerful than a recessive allele. So a dominant allele is going to show itself on the phenotype. The dominant allele is going to show itself on the phenotype. So the question is saying, use letters x to the power small letter h and x to the power capital letter H. Write down the genotypes of the father and the mother. Now as for genotypes are represented by alleles. Okay, genotypes are represented by alleles. Now on this part here, I'm going to say there are two types of sex chromosomes. There are two types of sex chromosomes. The first one being is the X chromosome. Then the last one is the Y chromosome. Okay, so the difference between the X chromosome and the Y chromosome is that the X chromosome is longer than the Y chromosome. So the difference between the X chromosome and the Y chromosome is that the X chromosome is longer than the Y chromosome. So I'm going to say, as for males, males are represented by X and Y chromosomes. Males are represented by X and Y chromosomes. Okay, and as for females, females are represented by X chromosome and also X chromosome. So as for female, they have two X chromosomes. Females have two X chromosomes. Then as for males they have X and Y chromosome. Okay, now here they are talking about sex-linked characteristic. Here they are talking about sex-linked characteristic. So I'm going to say, sex-linked characteristic only occurs on the X chromosome, not on the Y chromosome. I'm saying sex-linked characteristic does not occur on the Y chromosome, but it occurs on the X chromosome. Okay, now since the father was normal, so I'm going to say H, or let me say X to the power capital letter H, then I'm going to write Y. So on Y, don't put anything. I'm saying sex-linked characteristic does not occur on the Y chromosome. Okay, then as for the female, I'm going to say X to the power small letter H, then X to the power small letter H. Since they were saying the mother was hemophilic, then this hemophilic is caused by recessive alleles. Okay, so let's move on to the next one, which is C. Using a genetic diagram, explain why both boys were hemophilic. Using a genetic diagram, explain why both boys were hemophilic. So the first one, I'm going to start with the phenotype, the outward appearance. So the genetic diagram is going to look like this. So as for the phenotype, we have the father closed with the mother. Then the genotype, since we know that the father is a male, so I'm going to say X to the power capital letter H. Since in the equation they were saying the father is non-iomophilic, which means the father is normal. So remember, sex-linked characteristics only occur on the X chromosome, not on the Y chromosome. So I'm going to say for the genotype of the father, it is X to the power capital letter H, then Y, closed with the mother, which is X to the power small letter H, then X to the power small letter H. Then here we are going to split the gametes. Here we are going to split the gametes. Okay. Then from there now, after we split the gametes, this X on the father is going to close with the X to the power small letter H of the mother. Then the result is going to be X to the power capital letter H and X to the power small letter H. And also here we are going to have X to the power capital letter H and X to the power small letter H. Then here we are going to have X to the power small letter H and Y. And also here X to the power capital letter H and Y. Let me say small letter H, not capital letter H, small letter H. Okay. Now as you can see here, X and Y, on the right side, we have boys, or I can say male. So we are going to find that the first one is going to be our first genotype. The first one is going to be the normal or a carrier, which is the female. And also the next one is going to be a normal, now a carrier. A carrier, it doesn't mean that when you say a carrier is just a carrier of that disease. A carrier person doesn't mean that a person is sick, but it's just a carrier of that disease. Then followed by the female, this one here is going to be iomophilic. Then this one here is going to be iomophilic. Okay, so our first phenotype, we are going to say the first one is normal or a carrier. Secondly, we have the female, which is normal or a carrier, followed by the third one, which is the male. The male here, it is iomophilic. Then lastly, we also have a male, which is a son, which is iomophilic. So that was the last question on section B. So remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and remember that I'm going to upload a new video for the prediction of 2023 internal candidate. So ensure that you subscribe and like.